Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another ridiculous live show here this evening. It's myself, Aaron, at the Hunting Public, Ted, Greg, and Mindy is back there helping us moderate. So we got a sweet show for you tonight. In a little bit, we're going to call our buddy Mike Pentecost at WoodHaven Custom Calls and run a bunch of questions by him. The main topic this evening is how to call turkeys.
How about a little backstory on the bandanas? Why are we wearing those?
Both these bandanas were gifted to me by friends of mine over the years. That one my buddy Jason Riekman gave to me many years ago when I was on a float trip. My forehead was getting sunburnt. So,
And on the way over here, I said, well, I'm going to wear one of those. And then Aaron said, all right, I'll wear this one.
yeah, he seems to like my Miller Lite bandana for whatever reason. You can't have it. I've had it for a long time. That thing's seen a lot of country.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. That's right. Well, you wouldn't call yourself what would it be, a new to mouth calling turkeys?
I wouldn't.
You would or you wouldn't? How many years have you been using
fairly
mouth
new,
calls?
Yeah, 2 years probably.
All right. Well, get on one of those suckers and chirp on it a little bit here for
All
folks. Nice. Not too bad. Which call is that? Is that the cutter?
Yeah.
That's the WoodHaven.
This is a new one.
Yeah.
From this year, Blue Cutter.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now here. Blue Cutter by Billy Argus, new for 2019. One question that we had earlier is a gentleman was asking which call he should get to get rid of that raspy sound, because a lot of folks are going to buy a mouth call and they're going to get either that high-end yelp or they're going to get that back-end rasp. And what they're looking for is that two-tone yelp. Like a hen, when she starts yelping, she's going to have that high end on the front, and then as she gets more excited, aggressive, or whatever, she's going to drop into that back-end rasp. I'll see if I can demonstrate it for you. Hear that?
Mm-hmm.
How you have kind of that high-end yelp when it starts and then you drop it in. It's usually not the call's fault that you get one tone or the other. Well, I mean, it is to a certain degree, but it's more about how you blow the call. So ideally, and I'm not the best at this, but ideally when the mouth call is in your mouth, any air that you're expelling out of your mouth, you want it vibrating those reeds. So essentially, you want to be extremely efficient with the air that you're pushing over the reeds. So if you are sitting there blowing a call and you feel the air going past the call, like as you're calling, then you got it in the wrong spot. You're choking it down too much. And see, that's a bad habit that I have that I try to fight all the time. Is I tend to put that call in there and I jam it way up in the roof of my mouth, and then I try to hiss air through it. And if you can actually relax your jaw a little bit and let that thing kind of float in there towards the top of your jaw, and then force air over the top of those reeds, nice and slow until you start to get a sound, those mechanics alone will start to help you control your air and your volume and everything. You want to try it?
So try just blowing air through it?
No, like...
And see if I can make a noise?
Like, don't close your lips, okay? Like, get the call, put it in there, and try to keep your lips open the whole time, and use, like, air from your diaphragm. Like, tighten your chest up a bit. That's a good idea. Like, this is what it sounds like with no call. And see, I'm never closing my lips when I'm calling like that. And it's forcing that air. I don't know if it's creating a pocket in there that is forcing it more directly over the reeds, but it's making it more efficient. And what you're doing already, like with that amount of rasp and stuff, that'll kill turkeys all day long if you know when and how to use that. However, if you want to take your calling to the next step and try to sound more authentic like a real turkey, you got to really start to pay attention of where that call is in your mouth when you're making certain sounds. Go. Mm-hmm.
Mindy's back there laughing at me.
Yeah, but you're getting better. Like I can start to hear those cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're cutting and you're using your diaphragm. There you go. Hear that? Yeah, don't get ahead of yourself, you know.
I know.
But that's like, and it's hard to teach because everybody picks up a mouth call and they sort of have to teach themselves. You know, they put it in their mouth and they just sort of have to teach themselves on how to make sound out of it, and they eventually get the rhythm down to where they can call in turkeys and kill them. But that's when you take that next step is when you can start to control the air, and then you can start looking at the different cuts, you know, the area of the call in which you blow air over. And if you look at a lot of these competition callers, like we'll talk to Mike here in a little bit, all of them use these different cuts and get authentic turkey sounds out of them. Like from split V's to that cutter call that you're using. This one here is the Ninja Hammer that I have. And I love that combo style cut because the open side of the reed, I can key out that side. I can kind of get high pitch. That's where I make my high pitch part of the yelp. And then I push air over the middle of the call to vibrate that left wing to get it to drop into that rasp.
Yeah, that's why I got this one kind of was because it has that open side. This one, the first one I got was like a V cut, and it doesn't have an open, so I thought this one might be easier to get the higher pitch out of.
Yep.
Good question here. What's easier for beginners, single, double, or triple reeds?
Probably single reed is easiest just to make sound with, but you're not going to be able to go real far with that. Like, I mean, you could kill tons of turkeys with a single reed. The trick, and keep that in mind, as we're going through this conversation, like your rhythm and your cadence and the when, you know, all plays a bigger role in calling in and killing gobblers versus, you know, the mechanics that we're talking about. But if you're just beginner and you start off with these right mechanics, then down the road it becomes way, way easier. Like, that was my problem when I was doing, like, competition calling and stuff. When I was younger, I just grabbed my dad's old mouth calls out of the fridge and walked out in the backyard and was, like, calling for hours. And I just developed all these bad habits because I just had calls and I was trying to figure out how to blow them. You know, and I didn't have anybody there to actually show me until I started going to those contests. And, like, my buddy James Harrison, I started watching him. And he could see my mechanics and how I was using the call. He's like, "Oh man, you're wasting a lot of air." Like, he could hear the air going past the call. So if you're sitting there and you're calling, you're practicing right now, and you can hear air getting past your call without making sound, without vibrating those reeds, then if you change your mechanics up a little bit so that you're more efficient with it, you're going to notice a huge difference just in the tone, in your control. And that'll help you immensely when you're calling turkeys, because if you got a bird coming in, like your heart's pounding, your adrenaline's going up, a lot of times you got to be able to make that last sound or something with a mouth call. You want to sound, especially when they're getting in close, like that's when you really need to worry about sounding realistic.
So can you demonstrate what that would look or sound like if you're wasting air? Let's see if you can demonstrate it here.
Hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Hear how the air is going past the reeds, and that's you want to get away from that. And what helped me, and it depends, like from every person to the next, it changes, like how you get the best sound out of it. I mean, I've learned that from a lot of competition callers, and that's why they blow a variety of different reed cuts, is because each one of them, you know, mechanically operates the call a little bit differently. I mean, to each is their own. You can find out a number of different ways to do it.
So can that be because the call is mispositioned in your mouth, or too small, needs to be cut, or something like that?
Yeah.
What causes that?
Every once in a while, it can be the call itself. Like the reeds may be stretched too tight at the factory, or whoever's building them, whether they're building them by hands or at the press or whatever. Like sometimes you can get a call that is just too tight, and it becomes harder to force air over the reeds to get them to vibrate. But more often than not, it's, in my opinion anyway, it's because that thing isn't positioned properly. You got it too far in the back of your mouth and you're forcing air. You know, that's why you end up struggling. You see people using mouth calls and they're like they're pushing so much air through that, like their face is turning white, you know, because they're trying to get sound out of it. But the reason why they're not is because all that air is going past the call. It's not going over the call. Sure. It's not vibrating those reeds. And then once you start getting control of your air pressure, where you get that high-end sound, I'll demonstrate one more time real quick. Hear how you have that high end that's dropping into that back end rasp? Mm-hmm. Now, that's a cutter style reed on the top, but when you start getting more control of your air when you're forcing it over those reeds, what it's doing on the high end is it's just vibrating those, well, I mean, it's vibrating all three of those reeds, but it's not getting that top reed to pop off of there because you have more control. So it's essentially vibrating it like it's a double reed call, and that's why you get that high end. But then when you can control that, you start putting like more emphasis in the back end. Like I'm just picking up my air pressure a little bit with that yelp. It's like, and you can start to hear where that rasp comes in a little bit, and that a little added bit of pressure is what creates that rasp. The key always is not wasting air, and then practicing with different style cuts. That's a big one. If you're starting out, buy a handful of different calls with different cuts, and then try them and see which one works for you the best, and then maybe buy a handful of calls in that same cut. Because mouth calls are a lot like people. They may look similar, but they're all different in like little subtle ways. I mean, I got a couple of those cutter calls here, the Ninja Hammers. Both of them that I've had here that I'm yelping on sound good, but one of them is a little bit more raspy, has a little bit more back end, and I can push it harder when I'm cutting, and it's got better volume. Probably because the stretch is just slightly different, and the other one has that soft, characteristic to it.
I've had a couple questions on the fit of the call. Do you cut them?
It just is personal preference. Some guys cut it way down. The object of it always is to try to force air over the reeds, regardless of where it is. The trick is move that thing around in there until, and don't be afraid to move it so far forward to where it's uncomfortable even. If you start to call with it, then an utter air over the reeds, and you're starting to get better results, then just keep practicing like that, and you'll eventually get used to it. Let's give Mike a call. I told him we was going to call him at 7:30. Hey, Mike, what's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, I'm tired. Turkey building season. I do everything I do to try to make everybody else's world happy when it comes turkey time.
Yes, sir.
I just got back from Nashville at the NWTF show, and just congratulations to all the guys that won and in the competitions. And I mean, the whole thing is we work every day. I build turkey calls every day. That's what I tell everybody. I'm trying to make their world happy. All the guys that want turkey calls, I'm building calls to try to make people happy.
Yes, sir. So y'all had a good show then.
Very good show. I think everybody there did. I mean, met a lot of old customers and a lot of new ones, and answered questions and help people. I mean, it's nice to be in front of people and be able to answer the question for them, or some of it's hands-on by the box call question or a slate call, or how do I do this or how do I do that, or but it's fun to get that ability and to have that time to be in front of your customer and trying to help them. It's kind of. I've done figured out what we're going to do with Ted. I think Ted just needs to go ahead and swallow a mouth call, and we just need to pat him on the back every time we want him to yell.
That probably would work a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, if we want him to cut, you just take, put it on the back in the series, want him to yelp, we'll kind of massage his back. Yeah. I think we figured that out. That's a new technique.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of questions here for you. I'm just going to start rattling them off rapid fire if you're cool with that.
I hope I can help.
Shane has asked, how do you approach calling a bird that is hung up? I know that's a broad question.
Well, I mean, anytime I'm going to make the soft call first. So I mean, and then I can always make a louder call. And that's a game you have to play. You got to, like I saw somebody said something, you got to call and fail, and one day, you start figuring it out. And it's almost true. I mean, you play woodsmanship to the best of your ability, you get where that turkey wants to be, and then you call to him. If I can cluck and kill him, I know people get tired of hearing me say that, but if I can cluck and kill him, I cluck and kill him. But I call to him as softly and as conservative as I can, and then you never know what the turkey wants. The worst thing you do is run him off, okay? He lived to another day. That didn't work, and he lived to another day. But sometimes you need to cut at him and be aggressive, and he'll fold up and come on. I personally tend to play that conservative thing, do the clucking and purring, breaking in the leaves. If I can move, sometimes back up and call, and then run right back up to where I was to make him think that the turkey's leaving. If I ain't got somebody with me, I may go 20 or 30, 40 yards away, call, and then run right back up, slip right back up to where the tree I was at. Me personally, I get as aggressive as I can, but if I'm pinned down and can't move, I'm going to, 90% of the time, I'm going to go to the quiet, going to go quiet on him, cluck, purr, raking the leaves, and go quiet. And if he leaves me, and I'll circle him and try him a little bit later, or try him another day.
That makes sense.
That's part of it. Turkey hunting. That's part of turkey hunting.
Well, I noticed when I was hunting with you, man, you are so patient, and that, like,
what did I tell you? PATINC, and that last E is silent.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep your mouth shut, and we all want to tell that turkey how good we are and tell him to come on over.
We all want to go to him, too, when he gobbles over there like 3 miles away. You want to run to him. And
that patience is not something a lot of folks have in their vest, and I really like the way he said that. That's a cool statement. I just try to be what I know I am, and I've played the game a long time, and I've killed a lot of turkeys, and the longer you can be patient, the better off you are.
Yeah, I mean,
I cut in on
No, I mean, that's what happened to us last year in Alabama. Like, we got up on top of a hill and heard birds gobbling long ways off at first light, and me and Jake are standing there like, let's go after him, Mike. Let's get it, get the boots on and head down across the valley and get over there or whatever. And Mike's like, no, let's just hang out here for a little while.
Jake always says,
Yep.
sit back and sip your water and let the woods wake up.
That's right. That's what Mike said.
You water, let the woods work up. Hey, if I can make him use his feet to come to me, that's better than me making my feet go to him.
Yeah, that's right.
We painted a real good scenario. It was fun doing what we did last year, and I will provide you a gun this year that ain't got to be in fire.
I ain't blaming it on the gun. That was all my fault on that deal. But Darren is asking about the fly down cackle. He said, is it just for calling contests, or is there scenarios in which you use it in the woods?
No, I've used it in the woods. I mean, sometimes it's very deadly, especially if you can get the right setup. And again, that's just woodsmanship, knowing your turkeys, knowing the field, taking the kind of the temperature of the day in the field. If you're hearing very little down, very little yelping, you've been in the woods, and you're just not hearing a lot of turkey vocalization, then I'm sure not going to get real cackly. I'm not going to do a lot. But if the other turkeys are waking up and you've heard a hen cackle over there and kind of gave it, I mean, why not? What you're trying to do is paint the realism and try to get that instant. Hey, there's a party over here. We got to try to convince him to come to us. Generally, I don't do that flying across the Chattahoochee call. I mean, some guys get that. I mean, they make your turkey fly down out of a 120-foot pine. Generally, I'm going to, take a call. I'm trying to bring that turkey down quick and just let that, let a gobbler know that, hey, Wait a minute, that turkey, that's a hen excited and pitched down over there. I'm trying to paint the picture.
Kevin asked, never hunted turkeys but would like to give it a try. What's the best way to get started? And what is the minimum amount of gear needed?
Well, the right permits and licenses is your first thing. Having ground, it's no good. You can have all the turkey gear in the world. If you ain't got turkeys to hunt, you ain't turkey hunting. So, having the right license and finding permission or finding turkeys, doing scouting, the most important thing in turkey hunting is having turkeys to hunt, and then everything else falls in place. Having the right gear, you got to have a decent shotgun, pattern it, know what it's doing out to 30, 40 yards, know your limitations with that shotgun, and, calling. Learning woodsmanship to me is the main thing. Calling is the more you can call and sound like a real turkey, obviously the better off you are, but you just need simple turkey calls, maybe a crow call and a box call, something like that, to me would be the absolute minimum. Ben is
asking, why does a tom answer me on the roost, then always go the other way after hitting the ground? How many of you had that happen?
Oh, yeah.
We've all lived that scenario. A lot of times you're in the wrong position, or he's got hands with him. Stay with him, keep working with him. See if you circle around. If he's going the other way, he's going to where he wants to be. So if he does that to me a morning or two in a row, I'm going to go there. I dang sure ain't going to call from the same spot. If I call from my spot and he goes the other direction, I want to see what direction he's going, and I'm going to go be there and yelp from that position. If he does it to me 2 mornings in a row, then shame on him, shame on me. I'm going to go that way and be set up. And if I call and he still goes away, then I'm going to find me a new turkey to hunt, or I'm going to get me a different caller.
Eric asked, what's the best ways to scout out public land for turkeys? Like, what are you looking for?
Get those maps, no different than what y'all do. I'm looking for saddles, I'm looking for ridges, I'm looking for edges, looking for creek bottoms, looking for those positions that I think turkeys will roost. And again, you're not going to learn that from a book. You're going to learn it from, somebody that knows what they're doing, or either getting out there and doing your footwork. That's the best way to learn. You learn what you can by using maps and getting out there and then scouting. You're going to have to put boot leather on the ground.
Brandon asked, how do you know when to get aggressive and when to lay back with calling?
Again, that's one of those things. You got to take temperature. You got to become a hunter. The woodsmanship is bigger than anything. I don't think there's a set rule. The only rule in turkey hunting is there is no rule. I'm generally very aggressive on my foot techniques in general. Like with y'all, considerately, I was pretty aggressive. I was in a back way about, hey, I didn't take off and go over to him, but when the turkey started and commented and I knew the game was over, it was a pretty funky move I made on him with you. Circling around, I kept him 360 from you and me. I kept him between me and you because I tried to put him in your lap.
Right.
It's pretty aggressive, in the grand scheme of things. But with calling, as long as I'm sounding like a turkey or the guys with me, if you can sound like a turkey and sound like and make it sound, to me, I'm painting the scenario, whether it's walking or scratching in the leaves or yelping or clucking or whatever I'm doing. I just want to sound like a and make the gobbler come looking for me. As aggressive on calling or not aggressive, I don't think you can mess up one way or the other as long as you sound like a turkey. So there, at that point, you need to be as familiar with your turkey calls as you can be and sound like a turkey.
I got a question. If you've got two different birds gobbling, like one in opposite directions, how do you talk about taking their temperature? What are you listening for to figure out which one to go after?
That's a good thing to have, but seriously, if you can get in a position, many, many times, fun position to be in, because a lot of times, if you can play the game a little bit, you can use those gobblers' aggression and their jealousy against them. I a lot of times have got between turkeys or purposefully moved myself to an advantageous position. And again, you got to be a woodsman. You got to know where you got to know where that spot is. Where the turkeys are and where you got to get, where you think you can get to make those two turkeys try to become jealous, because jealousy is one of the turkey's worst enemies. if one thinks one's going to get there before the other, I mean, I have a lot of turkeys because I work myself in between two gobbling gobblers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last year on our hunt with Mike when we were down there in Alabama, he was up. There was a bird up top, on top of a ridge, and then there was a bird down low, and we were hunting kind of mountain birds, and they were both gobbling about the same amount. But Mike pointed to that one that was up high, and he's like, "I bet you that turkey's alone where he's at. Like he probably came up top to try to gobble up a hen." And sure enough, I'm pretty sure that was the bird that we ended up calling up in like 3 ridges over, within an hour.
Absolutely. That joker marched right on over when he finally got it. He got as lonely as he could stand it, and he knew that other big one in the bottom. And we knew we heard hens down in the bottom of that other one. So I mean, he got his impatient. He couldn't stand it no more. He had to come over and see.
Tyler asked, "What's your go-to locator call, Mike?"
Crow or a hawk for me. I mean, I'm on, crow or hawk. I mean, I really like the shrill of a hawk. A lot of folks don't use that on public ground. A lot of my hard pressure turkeys, I use a hawk on. Crow. But again, I use equipment. I don't use toys. I use tools. And I consider my calls to be tools. I don't play with toys. I don't want something that sounds like a toy. I want to sound like the real deal. So I work on being affiliated woodpecker with my hawk call or using my hawk as a hawk. I mean, I try to use something that not everybody else is doing, and I sure don't want to sound like a man on another rig blowing a $9.99 plastic crow call. Because if I can tell you're blowing a $9.99 plastic crow call, then I know that turkey can too.
How to and when to use a Jake yelp?
When you want to piss a big gobbler off, that's how to do it. Here's the deal, man. We used it last year. I told you, I said, follow me up with a Jake yelp. Remember on top of that ridge?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because I had you there, and it was a fun deal. I mean, I yelped on that crystal, and the turkey was eating it up a little bit, and I gave him that and told you to follow up with a Jake yelp. And I think that's probably what did that joker in. He was like, hey, wait a minute, I ain't going to let no boy be over there doing a man's job, I mean, you get that. If you can yelp like on your crystal. I mean, we had 2 guys, but I've done it 100 million times. Cliche there. I've done it a lot. I've used one mouth call to yelp like a hen, or either my crystal call or pot call. Yelp like a hen. I get that and then come right behind with a mouth call and get that. Well, I mean, that's just symbolizing that, hey, there's a Jake over there with that hen. That gobbler, again, you want to tick him off and make him come over there and set the record straight and say, hey, wait a minute, Henrietta, I'm here to play with you, and where you at, Jakester? I'm going to make sure I stomp your butt.
Yep.
You ain't supposed to be here.
Why don't you let the folks know what you guys got new this spring?
Well, I mean, obviously we got a website that you can get everything direct from us. I mean, it's WoodHavenCustomCalls.com, but we really encourage guys to use their dealers and everything. We've got a network of dealers that's getting bigger and bigger. I mean, Bass Pro Cabela's, they've done a great job. They stocked our stuff very well. That merger with them, they're doing a good job working towards getting a strong line of WoodHaven calls. We really appreciate what they're doing. I mean, some calls a bit Dick's Sporting Goods, Field of Streams, Gander, Outdoors, Academy, and like I said, a whole gaggle of local dealers and everything. If you don't have a local dealer that carries our calls and you want them to carry them, have them contact us and we'll get them in there if we can. But we got Billy Yargis is back with us, and he's added a blue cutter and a blue viper, which is Billy's signature type stuff, and Billy does a great job. I really like the way he calls, and a lot of folks do like the way he calls and likes the sound of his calls. Scott Ellis has designed a call called a black reactor. It's got a kind of a turkey track on a black tape.
Yeah, I see that. That's
black,
cool.
Black latex, and a lot of guys are liking it, experimenting and liking it. I added a new call to the Ninja line. the Hyper Ninja. And guys, they owe it to the hammer, the venom, the calls that are already in that line are really, really good. But I'm going to tell you something. I wanted to come up, I'm always working on something. It's nonstop for me, creating, but I want to make calls that make a difference, not just to make another call. So you're not going to see me make a call just for chance. And I'm going to tell you what, that Hyper Ninja, I built a call. I wanted to see what I could do with a ghost on its side. I mean, a crooked ghost cut's what I really wanted to do. All ghost cuts now are down the middle,
Right.
And I was experimenting, trying to find what a ghost would do on an angle. And I actually built a call with two ghosts on 45s on both sides of the call. And then as I developed the call, I really like an old a bat wing with the V or the tongue part on its side. So basically the Hyper is a development of all that, of kind of combining that. I only used one ghost cut on a 45, and on the other side I've got a V. So it becomes like a ghost cut and a combo cut, and it's a very unique, henny sound. It's got a cool sound, and I think guys are going to like it. And when they start trying it, the hammer is a unique call. It's got that. I know you like it. It's not just a plain cutter call. It's got that long side. I mean, we were fortunate enough to develop. Doug Crabtree showed me a version of that cut, at Grand Nationals last year, and we started working on it. And so the hammer was developed, and I mean, it's just good working together and stuff. I mean, the hammer, and then my personal favorite probably is the venom. The Ninja Venom. But I mean, we got a lot of good calls and a lot of good. It covers a lot of different latex thicknesses and stretches, and y'all kind of covered that earlier. I mean, it's a million varieties of calls. One thing we try to do is be very consistent with what we do. We got
on the friction side. Looks like you got the spur. Yeah, what's that all about? That looks cool. That spur crystal looks real sweet.
It's a good brand. We like the brand. We like those people. We like those guys, and they've got some unique a unique brand there, and we use that in conjunction to build some calls. We developed a couple of calls there, a walnut pot crystal with a maple inside that was kind of a reminiscent of our old vintage hen, and then I've got to do a video with all of our anodized calls, because guys, what I'm trying to do, I've never done much with a maple pot. And I decided I wanted to do some maple pot stuff. Started experimenting with it back a while ago, and then it just kind of fell into place. And so we wound up with three different anodized surfaces: our vintage anodized, and then we got the anodized Ninja, and now I've got this anodized surface in this spur. But there's different tones. I need to do a comparison of those, and guys can hear the tone differences in the different anodized surfaces. Not just building a call to build a call. I'm trying to give guys something different that they want, a different sound with a different call. And I'm going to tell you something. We got a lot coming next year. I mean, guys, we're expanding into the red Ninja. We're going to expand our Ninja line into a red Ninja. And just hold your hats. It's going to get better and better.
Yes, sir. Well, cool deal, Mike.
The tube call was something.
That's right.
I know we're cutting it. That tube call, I'm telling you, man, I handed one of those to my boys. They're 11 and 12 now. I told them, boys, start learning how to, cluck, yelp, and do your business on this tube call, because I'm telling you, sometimes just being different is a little bit you need to kill them. I tell them, you can kill every turkey walking if you learn how to use a tube call well. And that little tube call we just designed, walnut wood, and it's good. It's just a good little tube call, and I think it's a valuable tool for guys to put in their vest. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate you coming on with us for a little bit here.
Absolutely.
We're looking forward to
find your way down to Alabama. Maybe we can put a bib on Ted and do something for you. See if we can't get y'all out there and get it done.
Well, we're looking forward to it, man. I'll let you get back to basketball practice, but thanks for coming on with me.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Anytime I can be here on here to help talk about turkeys, that ain't hard for me to do, boy. That's something I know a little bit about, I hope.
Well, thanks, Mike. Have a good one, man.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Y'all take care.
Y'all keep safe.